We are coming to you from the beautiful city, Chicago, Illinois, where tonight WGN Sports presents White Sox baseball. It's Jose Abreu, Alexi Ramirez, Javi Garcia, and our Sox as they get set to butt heads with the defending American League champion Kansas City Royals. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With Steve Stone, I'm Ken Harrell. Since we get set to bring you Game 2 of this 4-game series. In the opener last night, if you missed it, you missed a good ball game. Some good pitching going on out there. We finally lost it 3-2 in 13 innings. But in the 7th inning, some things got a little hot. Some guys wanted to settle a couple of things, and they tried to get it done.
Well, unfortunately, you saw Donnybrook last night if you saw the game. Fortunately, nobody got hurt, and that's the important thing because 2 of our starting pitchers are right in the middle of it. So last night, Chris Sale celebrates getting out of a tough 7th inning with a double play. Apparently, some of the Kansas City Royals were not all that happy with the exuberance. And then, a little later on, Adam Eaton comes up, and it's on right back to Ventura. He says something to Adam Eaton. Adam says something to him. And when this happened, things started to break loose. Jeff Samardzija right in the middle of everything. Edinson Volquez took a swing but missed him, fortunately. And this went on for a while. There were 5 ejections last night. Lorenzo Cain, Yordano Ventura, and Edinson Volquez. For the Sox, number 1 and 2 starters, Chris Sale and Jeff Samardzija. So no fines or suspensions handed out to this point, but it's early yet. They'll review it, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, Edinson Volquez was trying to take a lot of cheap shots at some of our guys. Fortunately, he missed every one of them, so he's not very good at that. But we got some guys who've been swinging the bat pretty good on this homestand.
We do, and they couldn't swing it at a better time because it's a 2-2 homestand to this point. Melky Cabrera is starting to heat it up, which is a good thing because he's one of the table setters in the 2 spot in the batting order. And Jose Abreu is hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Here he takes advantage of Corey Kluber on a fastball away and takes it the opposite way. So if you look at what they've done, 6 for 17 for Melky, 7 for 16 for Jose. Jose has hit a couple of home runs and driven in 6. Melky has a double and a game-winning run batted in. So Abreu with 14 career first-inning home runs. Check out the first inning against Danny Duffy tonight. And Jose Quintana has never beaten the Royals.
Well, make no mistake about it, this thing is not over yet between these 2 ball clubs. So sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way. Chicago White Sox baseball is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. By Honda Dream Garage Sales Event, now at your Honda dealer. By Subway, make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. By Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at your local FordStores.com. And by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers who invite you to test drive our award-winning lineup today. Visit Hyundai.com.
This afternoon was a bench-clearing brawl after Adam Eaton bounced out in the 7th inning. Robin Ventura was asked what responsibilities the umpire have prior to tonight's game in preventing emotions from getting out of hand.
It's possible. I mean, I'm sure they're going to talk to each other. They usually travel together, so they'll probably talk about it. But, you know, they might have to do that just, you know, because they were already here for last night. I know it's happened in the past where they've done things like that before a game.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with tonight's lineup and first pitch after a break. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. It's a cool night at the ballpark, 44 degrees, and let's take a look at how Ned Yost is going to line up his Royals. Mercedes Escobar leading it off with Mike Moustakas doing a great job in the 2 spot. Lorenzo Cain in center field hitting 3rd, then it's Eric Hosmer, Kendrys Morales, Alex Gordon, Salvador Perez, Paulo Orlando, and Omar Infante, who's on a 9-game hitting streak, coming in. The defense and how they'll line up behind Jose Quintana. Melky Cabrera, Adam Eaton, and Avisail Garcia in the outfield, and that's a familiar one. With Gordon Beckham getting a shot at third base tonight, along with Ramirez, Johnson, and Abreu in the infield. Tyler Flowers once again behind the plate. And Jose Quintana on the hill. This is 4th start. Last time out was a very bad one for him. He was what's called wild in the strike zone. Not walking too many guys, but throwing too many hittable pitches in the zone. The umpires for the game tonight, Tim Timmons behind the plate. Tim Welke is at first, Mike Everett is at second, and Sam Holbrook is at third. So Kansas City comes into this one leading the American League Central by 1 game over Detroit. Detroit, by the way, is losing 3-1 to Cleveland in the top of the 4th inning in Detroit. Sox come in at 6-9, 5.5 games in back of the Royals. They'd like to put a dent in that with a victory here tonight. Certainly Quintana needs one of those. And if he can refine that slider inside to the right-handers, he'll be in pretty good shape as Robin looks out on a very chilly night. And hoping that 0-4 against Kansas City is not going to be the norm. It's going to be but a blip on the radar screen as we move along. So they've thrown the ball around the infield, which means we're ready to play baseball, and I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
All right, Steve, thank you. And once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball right here with WGN Sports. So happy you could join us for Game 2 of this 4-game set. Alcides Escobar will lead it off. Escobar comes in hitting at .295. Royals hitting at .301 as a team. And the first pitch of the ball game. Taken for a strike. Escobar has faced Quintana 34 times, has 9 hits. Now field swung around to the right. And that one just off the plate here at the ballpark. 330 down the left field line, 335 down the right field line, 375 in the gaps, and 400 straightaway center.
Escobar hits the ball a lot to right and right center field, but they're going in this time.
Ate him up inside. Escobar and Ramirez, well, two of the best, if not the two best shortstops in this league.
Last night, Alexei just put on a defensive clinic. He had 4 plays that were just outstanding, a couple of them spectacular plays. What a night it was for Alexei.
That's just a day at the office for him.
Yeah, he's something.
Here's Moustakas hitting at 328. Next first pitch strike.
Moustakas is one of the few lefties that really have pretty good numbers against Jose. And in the 2 spot this year, he's had good numbers overall. On base percentage of .411. That's pretty stout.
0-2 the count.
Same look as last night. Maybe a little chillier here this evening.
Lays off that one. He gone. 2 down.
Moustakas was not the happiest man with this call. Probably too close to take. He gets rung up by Tim Timmons.
Well, if there was such a thing as giving umpires Emmys, last night would have been a candidate for Sam Holbrook. Saw almost 400 pitches, hardly missed any, and they control that situation very well.
We had very few guys looking back at all to question any of the calls from Sam Holbrook, and when you don't notice an umpire, that's when you know he's doing a fine job.
Here's Kane hitting at 375, a couple of homers. He's driven in 12. And that's in the whole base hit. So Kane 5 for 6 in stolen bases.
This Kansas City team has swiped 15 bags. They've been caught only 3 times. And nobody's been caught more than once.
Hosmer hitting at 339, a homer, 10 knocked in. 8 for 35 lifetime off Quintana. Pops him up softly. Alexei. Good inning for Jose. He got it and threw it. After a half inning of play, it's the Royals nothing and the good guys coming to bat.
with Melky in the 2 spot. Then it's Jose Abreu, Abisail Garcia, Alexi Ramirez, who's sitting on a couple of milestones, Adam LaRoche, Gordon Beckham, Tyler Flowers, and Micah Johnson rounding it out. The defense, and it's a good one for Kansas City. Alex Gordon, Lorenzo Cain, and Paulo Orlando in the infield. Moustakas, Escobar, and Fonte and Hosmer. Very talented Salvador Perez behind the plate. And Danny Duffy on the hill. Lifetime 2-1 against our Sox with an ERA above 4.5. This year 1-0, his ERA above 5.5 on for his 4th start.
And before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours. Adam has faced Duffy 8 times, has 1 hit. Takes ball 1. Sox come in hitting at .244 as a club with a 4.19 ERA.
Duffy mostly a fastball pitcher. He will use a big overhand curve, and it's a good one when he keeps it in the zone, but control early in this season has been a problem for him.
That fastball at 94, and the count evens at 1. Hosmer. 1 out.
Hosmer's got good hands. This probably isn't the recommended way to pick this one, but when you have confidence in your hands, you can do that.
So here's Melky hitting at .286. He is 0 for 3 against Duffy. Danny Duffy is healthy. He is tough.
Fastball anywhere from 93 to 96, maybe occasionally edging it to 97, but not too often.
.44 degrees as we speak. And that's flipped into the seats. Souvenir time.
Last year, Duffy was only 9-12, but his ERA a touch over 250. That's pretty impressive in 25 starts.
That one at 97.
Duffy had Tommy John surgery, and he had it in 2012.
Well, Tommy John surgery has gotten into the category now of just having a root canal.
Well, he certainly has come back with every bit of the velocity that he had before it. There you look at the career numbers. 3.76 ERA, pretty good despite 4 games under 500.
These doctors today are absolutely sensational. Boy, what advances they've made in the last, actually just the last 15 to 20 years. But from 50 years ago, when I first started, 56 years ago, you know, you have some of the injuries these guys have today, they shoot you like a horse.
That would have been it for a whole lot of guys that have experienced Tommy John surgery and come back and not missed a beat. You know, once you have the rehab, and for different players it's different times, but anywhere from a year to a year and a half to get back to being right on top of things.
They did not go. Well, Dr. Anthony Romeo, for an example, that latissimus dorsi operation he with Jake Peavy, first time that's ever been done to a baseball player, and it put let's put it this way, put enough of it to make him another $60 million.
I was going to say, he came back and he owes Dr. Romeo a few bucks.
Well, how about a new Equus? Because that's in the right field. 2 down. And a Genesis each for their lovely daughters. Yeah, it's amazing what these guys have done.
And it keeps getting better, more sophisticated with less rehab time. And that's just, I mean, it's the progress of all surgeries. But the Jake surgery was revolutionary.
And I asked him prior to the surgery, I said, Dr. Romeo, I said, what's going to happen here? This has never been done before in a baseball player. He said, he's going to be fine. He's coming back 100%.
He did that.
Abreu hitting at 305, 2 for 4 last night, and 3 for 7 lifetime off Duffy. So if your latissimus dorsi is bothering you, you ought to give him the buzz. Out of play right side. And right now, let's check out our picks to click. Jim Angio, our director and recruit. Well, there was Tyler. Steve's going with Alexi. And Bob Bechtel, Ray Garcia, Joe Rohde, Megan Golden, Ron Vesley, Sheena Quinn, Julie Bartos, and myself. We're going to go with Gordon Beckham. There's that breaking ball.
Jose's hit 14 first inning home runs. And with that in mind, he got a hittable fastball, but it was on the outside corner. And the other 3 were breaking balls from Duffy.
There's a base hit. So Paulo Orlando gets over to it, gets it back in, and here comes Avi.
Most amazing part of Jose is, as far as baseball, he has the greatest percentage of line drive hits with 2 strikes. 40% of the time he will hit a line drive with 2 strikes. You can't say that about too many people.
Ivy, 2 for 4 against Duffy lifetime. First pitch strike. Yankees leading the Mets 6-0, top of the 5th at the stadium. Top of the 5th in Detroit, still 3-1 Cleveland. Moustakas is a good one. Can't find the ears on it, so that'll be a base hit.
Moustakas realizing that Garcia was not going to even think about a bunt, so he was playing fairly deep at third base. You see where he is? And this ball, he knows it's do or die. Can't really get it out of the glove with any kind of grip at all on a very cool night. So it's 2 straight 2-out hits.
Here's Alexei at 216. And he is 3 for 10 lifetime off Danny Duffy.
Alexei loves to hit fastballs. Over 70% of the time on fastballs 94 and over, he's put them in play. That's #1 of 107 major league hitters. So if he gets a fastball with something on it, he's going to be able to turn around just about anybody.
The ball hit deep. Back on the track, he got it. Just missed it. Dadgummit. Gave us a little bit of a thrill. Meanwhile, after 1-0 score. Top of the second will be followed by Alex Gordon and then Salvador Perez. Takes ball one.
Kendrys effectively took the spot previously occupied for a long time by a pretty good hitter, Billy Butler. And Butler has found his way to Oakland, got a 3-year deal. Kansas City had a big option, decided not to take it, and they replaced him with a switch hitter, Morales, who can hit pretty well from both sides of the plate.
Breaking ball misses 2-1. Softly hit.
Enjoy the benefits of being a White Sox season ticket holder by purchasing a prorated 71-game full plan or a 23 or 4-game split season plan. Great locations are available now. Packages begin during the week of May 5th. To purchase or view a full list of all benefits, visit whitesox.com or call 312-674-1000.
Alex Gordon, 31-year-old veteran. Takes ball one. Alex hitting at .250 with a homer. He's driven in 5. 8 for 34 lifetime, Austin Town. There's a strike.
That indeed is going to be the outside corner. And Jose certainly would like to take advantage of it.
Takes the bite and takes the ball right at the bottom of the zone.
Xfinity pitch tracks. The second one was called strike.
Softly hit. So with 2 outs, that'll bring up their terrific young catcher. That's 24 years old, Salvador Perez.
He has always had luck against Jose. Jose's keeping the ball on the ground tonight. That's a good sign for him.
Best sign we've seen, though. He's getting it and throwing it.
Yes, he is. Got a good rhythm going.
To the count. Second and 4. Tomorrow afternoon, weather permitting, it'll be Danks against Volquez. Sunday in the finale, Noesi against Vargas. He gone. That didn't take long. And we'll go to the bottom of the second, still no score.
You can log on to WGNTV.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. Sox Game Zone is powered by Robert Morris, University, Illinois, offering over 55 athletic teams, more than any other university in the state. For more information on RMU, visit robertmorris.edu.
Here's Adam. Adam hitting at .222, 3 homers. He's driven in 8.
Adam has had a tough time against the left-handers this year. And he's hoping that Duffy gets a little careless with the fastball. He threw that last one right down the middle.
2-1 the count. High pop up left side.
Gordon off to a very good start. And I asked him about what he's looking for from Duffy. He said, well, he got a good curveball. I don't think he's going to throw me that many of them, so I got to look fastball and adjust on down, which is what most hitters try to do against guys with big fastballs. That bat splintered. Gordon will go back and get another one. But this one just off the end of the bat.
That fastball low and away. Good rip underneath it, and the count 2-2.
Kansas City outfield, almost without exception, plays the Sox right-hand hitters to the right center field gap.
Well, we don't have in our lineup closest thing we've got to a pull hitter, and he's not a pull hitter. It's Tyler Flowers.
And he hit a 3-run homer against Danny Duffy in Kansas City.
Softly hit down to Moustakas. And here is Tyler. Tyler, 242, 1 for 8 against Duffy. That's breaking ball strike.
Duffy's got a good curveball tonight.
Cleveland now leading the Tigers 9-1. Top of the 5th. Breaking ball got him, and that'll retire the side. A 1-2-3 inning. We're into the third, still scoreless. No score, top of the third inning. It'll be Orlando and Fonte, then back to the top of the order with Escobar.
Orlando's getting his opportunity because Alex Rios has a broken hand. So he'll be lost for a while, and in his place, Orlando, who's got great speed, has done a pretty decent job.
Just looking at him from up here, you'd think that was Alex Rios in the plate.
Very close to the same size.
Same size, same build. To the count.
Jose's able to get his cutter and slider down and into the right-hand hitters, and that is a very good sign for him. He's always been able to command the inside part of the plate, but he's kind of lost that good command over the last few starts. Last time was just one of those days. You just throw them out and you move on. Detroit, a good hitting team, hit him very well. There you see, unfortunately, what happened the last time out. 10 hits, 9 earned runs in just 4 innings of work.
That breaking ball tops it foul.
That one apparently caught part of the foot, and Paulo is trying to walk it off.
Outfield, straight up bunch just a bit. That's a fair ball, and it gets by Abreu. So that's an easy into second base for Paulo Orlando.
This one just skidded off the end of the bat down the line. Jose cannot corral it. He's there. Ball just goes under his glove.
Had a ton of spin, and when it hit, it just darted. So trouble brewing here. Leadoff man at second. Nobody out. And here's Omar Infante, who is real good at working the ball to the right side.
And a 9-game hitting streak.
Takes first pitch strike.
Infante's had somewhat of a groin problem that's been plaguing him. He had some injuries last year also. They're a better team with him in the lineup. But physically, things have not gone the best the last couple of years.
That little Christian Colon had some good at-bats last night. That pitch inside.
With the runner at second, nobody out, Kansas City is cashed in 90% of the time. That's way above the league average of 68%. Sox pitchers have held scoreless the opposition better than league average at 60%.
That'll get the job done. Now the infield comes in. For Alcides Escobar, the leadoff hitter, who grounded out to Micah.
Robin knows that runs have been at a premium against this Kansas City staff. So he's bringing the infield in at all 4 positions.
And there's a little Ducks North base hit. It's 1-0.
RBI number 6 for Escobar. He tries to cut it inside. Can't quite get it there.
Here's Moustakas. Struck out his first trade. Takes first pitch strike. Going 2.
That last pitch was a good high fastball. It was in the zone, but it was up. Moustakas has some problems in that spot. Most hitters do. As Tyler goes out, wants a word with Jose. Wind has very much been a factor on this homestand, and it is once again this evening. Escobar can run, although he's still not 100%. from that takeout slide at second base, courtesy of Brent Lowry. He was good enough to play.
They got him picked off. No.
He's safe, and it looks like Jose might be hurt.
Yep. Yep. Good.
He's actually grabbing the oblique.
You want to play like that?
Well, Escobar is one of the fastest runners around, and all Jose has to do is get it to Ramirez. Tries to run him down.
He missed him there, and then
he went over the top. Boy, it would be really nice if he just had the air taken out of him.
Well, he is, as you can see, still down.
This play is being challenged. Robin is saying that he did indeed tag him. From that angle, unfortunately, it was Mike Everett who obscured the actual tag.
Well, Escobar is lucky he didn't get an injury. And it may have been that he just did indeed get the wind knocked out of him.
That would be a great result of what just happened.
Well, you hate to see it any time, but especially on a play like that.
This is a very fast team, and Escobar is one of their fastest members. So to try to run him down probably is not such a good thing. Looked like Jose now is shaking his head. Looks like he's feeling a whole lot better than he felt a couple of minutes ago. He's out.
So they call him out.
He's out, and Jose is in and stays in the game. Couldn't have two better results to a play that was not a particularly good one. Boy, it's great to see Jose going back to the first base bag. It's great to see that Escobar is out.
And the count 1-2 to Moustakas. If you're just tuning in, run on 3 hits, no errors for them. No runs, 2 hits, no errors for us. Well, when that happens to one of your better players, when it happens to any of your players, but especially one of your better players, boy, it just, your mind just starts racing.
Well, you can't envision this lineup without him in the 3 spot. Unfortunately, it was just the breath knocked out of him, although he's probably going to feel the effects of that. There are more than a few people around White Sox land that are breathing a tremendous sigh of relief.
Two of them right here.
When he went down, he didn't know if he was going to get back up anytime soon.
The way he landed, first thing popped in my mind was a collarbone. Watch out. Two balls, two strikes, two out.
And with some smelling salts, Garcia says, "Can you feel this? Here, let me slap you. If you can feel it, you're okay." And Hermie also has a big smile on his face.
Well, he wasn't asking if his call switch was working. No. Another chopper foul.
Here's a look at one of the best, if not the best, trainer in the business, and he's been at it a long time. And keeps his team on the field more than anybody else could.
Well, it's hard to say in baseball or in anything. Anybody's the best, but he's in that category. You might tie him, but you're not going to beat him.
A lot of experience with that White Sox jacket on.
And he has saved this organization millions and millions of dollars. Plus the tremendous medical staff that we have.
You just hope not to use it quite as frequently as we have last year. Last year, all around baseball, just a plethora of devastating injuries to players that were really consequential to their various teams.
High in the right field. Javi is there. So we survive a tremendous scare. Meanwhile, they get a run. They lead it 1-0.
To make sure he's okay. Adam LaRoche went over there to find out if everything is going okay, and it appears to.
That being said and that being done, we got to get some runs. We have not been scoring a whole bunch of runs against this Kansas City team. So here is Micah Johnson. There's a bunt. That is a good one. You can just put that one in your pocket.
When you fall off the mound to the third base side and you're a left-hand pitcher, that whole right side is vacant. And if you can push it where you pull the first baseman off the bag, very few first and second basemen have the coordination where the second baseman will go to the bag. Pitcher's got no chance to get to the bag, and neither did anybody else.
Well, where Omar Infante was playing him, he wasn't going to beat him to the bag anyway.
Nope.
So here's Adam. I'd love to see Micah do that.
Well,
4, 5, 6 times a week.
If he continues to do that and drag it with him, he's going to find that first baseman and the second baseman in a whole lot closer than they'd normally play him.
Well, that's where he has his biggest room for error. Is right towards the second baseman. And you flip that page, which means it's also the biggest area of success. So 0-2 the count.
Adam hasn't really gotten started yet to be the kind of player that we know he is from last year. But he makes contact most of the time. Swing and miss rate a little over 10%, which is among the best in the league. There's Vince Coleman, Emilio Bonifacio, and a very short lead at first base.
And it's by Moustakas. So now Micah is going to have to pull up at second, as that guy in left field knows what he's doing out there.
He got 4 Gold Gloves, and he was shaded toward the line with Adam up. A good 2-strike at bat. We told you about his ability to make contact. You put the ball in play, good things will happen. Moustakas will make this play most of the time, just not this time. And he pounds the ground, but you're not going to run much on Gordon. He has a strong arm and very accurate.
So here's Melky. He went out to Orlando in right field. 2 on, nobody out. There's a bunt. It's a good one.
Good execution by Melky. He looked a whole lot more comfortable bunting from the right side than he has from the left. And he moves 2 men into scoring position, both speed burners. That's a nice job. Leaving Duffy with only 1 play, that being to first base. Now there's a meeting at the mound to talk about what they want to do with Abreu. And you see, he kept the head of the bat up. That way you can bunt the ball on the ground. And if you're a 2-hitter, you have more responsibilities in 2 spot than any other spot in the batting order. One of them is to bunt when called upon. Another is to take pitches when you have a base stealer ahead of you.
And another is to bunt sometimes when you're not called upon to bunt, according to how you feel about that particular pitcher.
And for Melky, it wouldn't be a bad idea if he feels comfortable to bunt for the occasional hit.
So here's a good chance for a wild pitch. That's the last thing he expected right there.
He got the express right down the middle. Duffy has 1 wild pitch this year. The entire Kansas City team only has 4. Nobody has more than one.
That's because of that big man behind the plate. Perez. It's knocked down. Now they're going to get Micah hung up and put the tag on him. Now he missed him.
He's called out by Tim Timmons, I believe. Micah doesn't think he was tagged.
Well, I don't know if Timmons could see the tag. He may have called him for the baseline, but I didn't think he went out of the baseline.
Well, if in fact Perez did tag him, he did the right thing. He ran right at Johnson, forcing him back to a base that is now occupied. Micah is waving Abreu to go to second, just doesn't have a whole lot of time to do it.
I don't know if Timmons saw the tag or. Meanwhile, 2 out, runners at the corners, and here is Avi. Up high, 1-1. Against this ball club, offensively, we're in a syndrome. Or I'm in trouble syndrome. Not the pitcher's in trouble. I'm in trouble syndrome. Yes, he did. No, he didn't.
Got the benefit of the call from Tim Welke. Meantime, nice stop by Perez, stopping tying run from scoring. Well, he's really good back there.
Very seldom anything gets by him. Oh boy. Come on, Abby. Get the first 2 men on, get them on second, third, 1 out, can't do anything with it, and it's 1-0 Kansas City.
Vukovic. He's your local insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To visit the nation, visit jeffvook.com because Nationwide is on your side.
Top of the fourth inning in a 1-0 Royal lead. It'll be Kane, Hosmer, and Morales to face Jose Quintana. We just blew another golden opportunity. We can sit up here and talk about it all we want to because it's a lot easier said than done.
That's the truth. Looking at it on television, looking at it from up here, appears to be a relatively easy game. In fact, it's a infinitely difficult game.
Yeah, because of the mirror. That mirror is the toughest person in the world to beat. And when you get into everything in baseball is contagious. And when you get into a syndrome like we are in, when we get guys on third with less than 2 out, for some reason our guys have got that feeling that he's the one in trouble. I've got to get him in. I'm the one in trouble, rather than looking out at that pitcher and say, I'm not in trouble, buddy. You're the one that's in trouble. And again, that's easier said than done. But it has to get done.
Well, against the real good teams, especially the good defensive teams that don't make a whole lot of mistakes, you're going to have to execute when you get the opportunity. It was a very good bunt by Melky, putting runners at second and third, and then nothing happened.
That's in right field. Can of corn. 1 out. And here's Hosmer.
Hosmer had the game winner last night. He got an off-speed pitch with Jared Dyson running at first. Took it into the right field corner, and there was no chance to get one of baseball's fastest runners, Jared Dyson.
On a 2-2 count. There's breaking ball. That's into center field.
Mother's Day is May 10th, and the White Sox have dedicated Saturday, May 9th as Mother-Son Night at the ballpark. In addition to specially priced tickets and parade passes, the first 10,000 ladies ages 14 and up will receive a Mother's Day tote. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/mom.
Kendrys Morales grounded out softly to Alexei at short. One 3-0 for them, 0-4-0 for us.
You figure Morales would have the 3-0 green light with 2 outs and nobody on. Took it on the outer third and up.
I'm sure he was hitting, but he just didn't get a pitch where he was looking.
No. And with left-hander up next, you figure Ned Yost probably turned him loose.
But on the other side of that page, it's amazing how many managers just don't use the 3-0 offense. But they don't even have one. It's just a random, occasional thing.
A lot of hitters don't hit well 3-0.
Well, they don't know how to hit 3-0. 3-0 hit sign is not a 3-0 swing sign. And that's what happens. That's a 1-2-3 inning, and they still lead at 1-0. With a run in the third. Lead at 1-0. So it'll be Alexi, LaRoche, and Beckel.
Alexi came very close to hitting one out of here with 2 on to end the first inning. Chasing Gordon all the way back to the wall.
He just missed it. One and one to count. Three and one don't help him out.
Well, now Alexi should get that fastball that he's been looking for. He's going to get the fastball. Let's see what Duffy does with it.
Escobar throws it away. 2 nonchalant throws. One last evening, and that one right there by Alcides Escobar.
He seemed to get under this one. He had some time. He gets under it, and when you do that, the ball has a tendency to sail. Now Hosmer came across, looked like he had a shot at catching it. It caromed off the glove. He thought it was in the glove because he put the tag on Ramirez, who now is stationed at second base, and it does go E6.
Well,
so a break.
First 2 errors he's made all year. And here's Adam. He popped up to Escobar.
good take laying off that high fastball. There's nothing that he can do with it up there except pop it up. And in this situation, the dead pull hitter has got to pull the ball.
Two and 0 the count with Beckham on deck. That ball hit hard into center field. Tag up, Alexi. Tag up. So Kane goes back, makes the catch, so he'll tag and move into third. And Adam gets the job done.
And the one thing you know is if it stays in the ballpark and has any height at all to it, Lorenzo Cain is going to run it down. So the tying run 90 feet away. And Gordon Beckham with an opportunity towards fifth run batted in. He's going to have to deal with the infield in at all four positions.
All things considered, the guys who've really been having outside of Abreu, who've been having down in the lower part of the order with good at bats have been Gordon and Tyler Flowers. I feel very comfortable with Gordon being at the plate in this situation.
And Gordon felt the same way. I talked to him before the game today about exactly how he's used. He said, look, my job is to be ready wherever I'm put in, whether it's to start the game or to be put in at third or wherever else. He said, that's what I prepare to do, and that's what he's done so well in the early going.
2-0 the count.
With a runner at third and one out, Sox hitters have driven in that run 33% of the time. That's way below league average.
Three and 0. There's only really men that light him up right here, Gordon.
He got the fastball a little higher than he would have liked.
Yeah, in this situation, hitting 3-0, you've got to, when you're outside that box and you get ready to step in, you got to know exactly where your zone you're looking at.
And from a pitcher's standpoint, with a situation when he looks around and looks at his infielders, you got to find some way to throw a ground ball. If a hitter beats you with a ground ball through the infield, well, you've done your job.
And that breaking ball, so a full count.
It's raining, and the rain is going to be here tomorrow. Probably a whole lot heavier than it is here this evening. And let's hope that this one is just a passing shower.
Payoff pitch. And that's ball 4. So the first walk issued by Danny Duffy.
Join the Chicago White Sox for Weather Day, presented by WGN TV on May 7th at U.S. Cellular Field. Prior to the game, WGN TV meteorologist Tom Skilling will host an on-field program focused on the weather. Nobody loves the weather more than Tom Skilling. It's going to include experiments and a video presentation. For more information to purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/WGN.
So here's Tyler.
And the fans starting to cheer, trying to show some enthusiasm and trying to get home, at the very least, the tying run in this 1-0 game.
Breaking ball strike.
Duffy's leaving a few of those breaking balls up. Tyler Flowers is a good breaking ball hitter when a pitcher gets careless and leaves the breaking ball up.
Ground ball right side. That's going to get the job done, and this game is tied at 1. So the unearned run crosses the plate. We'll take it.
RBI number 5 for Tyler. This Kansas City team defensively doesn't give you too many mistakes, and when they do, you got to take advantage of it, and the Sox have.
All right, Micah. Had that beautiful bunt single. Pick him up. Or bunt him again. Good rip. Count evens.
If Micah does exactly what you were talking about, 3 or 4 bunt hits a week, he's going to keep that batting average up near 300 because he will make some contact.
Takes that one right there at 93, so 1-2.
A selfie in the rain. And a lot of the fans have come prepared.
Ball gets away. So that'll be a wild pitch.
That's a second by Duffy. Just the 5th by Kansas City pitchers. This is a tough pitch to handle for a catcher. He got the glove down and just caromed off the glove and caromed away.
A 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Pretty good pack he put on that one.
Well, Duffy is one of the guys that was drafted and came up through the Kansas City system. He was drafted in the 3rd round of 2007 draft. He's had a few injuries, but he's still got great stuff.
Got him. But we get a break, and we convert, we score, and we're tied at 1.
official White Sox MasterCard debit card. Only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust, a member FDIC.
Fifth inning. Here in game 2 of this 4-game set. 1-3 and a big one for them. 1-4-0 for us.
Gordon came into this series hitting just 125 against left-handers and the most unlikely guy to get 2 hits off Chris Sale. They weren't hard hit, but he got 2 of them last night. Jose handled them pretty easily the first time up.
Want to know the count. Two balls, no strikes.
Looked like Josh Hamilton is going to go back where he had a whole lot of success to the Texas Rangers.
And he's taking a whole bunch of money with him.
That's probably the negotiation way it took so long, is how much the Angels are going to send with him.
There's the strike. Well, the report I saw a while ago, he's owed $83 million, and Texas is going to pick up 15 of it.
Not surprising.
Two and two.
Jose is working at a much more rapid pace here tonight. Because of this rain, you're going to have to wipe off the baseball on occasion, but for the most part, he's getting it and throwing it.
Well, according to my radar, we got a problem. Just off the corner.
Not if we get another run in the bottom of the 5th and hold him right here. Your radar does not look good. You sure that's coming to Chicago?
It's not last year's.
You sure about that? No, that doesn't look like it's going to be too pleasant when it gets here. Roger Bosser, who knows more about baseball fields than I know about everything combined.
Payoff pitch. So he walks the leadoff man.
Bring your family to the ballpark for Family Sundays, presented by the University of Chicago Medicine Comer Children's Hospital. Tickets start as low as $5 and parking is just $10. White Sox and Comer Children's Hospital teaming up for kids' health. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/Sundays or calling 866-SOX-GAME.
So he's out of the stretch now. That's where he's had a lot of problems. First pitch strike. Salvador Perez, who struck out in quick fashion in the second inning, called out on a fastball.
He's tormented Jose over the course of his career, but he's also an inviting double play target. He leads this team, grounding into 4 double plays. Gordon's got pretty decent speed, although he has yet to try to steal a base this year.
There's a base hit. So leadoff walk.
There's the throw. Got a shot. Nope. Now they get Perez hung up, caught. And they're going to put it on him. So 1 out. Gordon's at third. And that, my friends, is the value of hitting the cutoff man.
And that's a real bad base running play by Salvi Perez, who took for granted that that throw was going to third base. This is a man without a whole lot of speed. And it would have been runners at first and third and nobody out. But that throw cut off. And then it's easy against Perez after that. Good heads up play by Alexi. And this time he's not chasing Escobar, he's chasing Perez.
Well, he took the sure out because there was a shot at getting Gordon at third on that throw by Garcia. So Alexi made the right play. Infield in. Paulo Orlando squibbed one right off the end of the bat. Took a funny hop away from Abreu for a double. And he scored in the third.
If you're keeping score in this one, that out is 9-6, 3-6-3. Orlando does not have a bunt this year. What he does have is great speed, and that translates into 5 triples in just 10 games.
Softly hit, but it's going to get the job done. It's a 2-1 Kansas City lead.
RBI number 4.
Leadoff walks. They will absolutely kill you.
Orlando wouldn't have had much of an opportunity, if an opportunity at all, had Alex Rios stayed healthy. But after the broken hand and a high tight fastball, it gave Orlando his opportunity. And he is making the most of it. Rios was hitting .321 when he went down.
Infante got the job done back in the third with Orlando. At second, nobody out. Hit a ground ball to the right side. Takes first pitch strike. And the count 0-2. One in, one on, one out. 1-2 the count. He gone. He gone. Strike him out, throw him out. But they pick up a run on the leadoff walk coming around, and we're halfway home trailing 2-1. They have a 2-1 lead, and the front is moving in to our area. So it's the top of the order here in the bottom of the fifth. Eaton, Cabrera, Abreu.
Certainly behoove the offense to push across a couple here.
Certainly at least one. 2-5-1 for them. 1-4-0 for us.
Got Moustakas in very close at third, and he's on the line.
Nope, right back at him.
An athlete is defined by the desire to be active and continue doing the things that you love. Visit Athletico.com and start defining your pain-free inner athlete today. Athletico, the official physical therapy provider of the Chicago White Sox. Athletico, better for everybody.
Well, I love what just happened, even though he got thrown out. If he stays with it, that's what you call more of a constructive out. He's got to start doing that more, especially off left-handed pitching.
You know, all he's got to do is get that by Duffy, and then nobody throws him out. But unfortunately, he couldn't do that.
Cabrera's 0 for 1 with a sacrifice bunt. Just foul.
Not by much, but just enough for Tim Welke to motion on the foul side of the line.
Where are you on deck? Escobar with a plant to peg, low throw, and a nice pick by Hosmer.
A lot of shortstops will do this by design, thinking that, especially if there's some moisture on the grass, this ball skidding there is going to get there more quickly.
You know, in the opening series of the season in Kansas City, we saw Escobar with a couple of real gun throws over to first base. Hadn't seen it.
You know, he's got
last night.
He's got a knee problem since Brett Lowry taking him out at second. It's not 100%. Could very well be that's affecting his throws because they haven't been good in this series.
Well, he made the error last night on a nonchalant play. He made another error on another nonchalant, so that knee could be really affecting it because he has a tremendous arm. Abreu has singled. Takes a strike. 1-1 to count. And then went back to the pitcher. Top of the zone says no plate umpire. And the count 1-2. And that's in the hole.
The surprising thing about Danny Duffy, who's a pretty good pitcher, is that in his previous starts, 3 of them, 3, 4, and 5 hitters have hit 400 against him. And he just shakes his head. He's had problems against the middle of the order. Granted, a lot of people do, but that's an inordinately high batting average when you consider it's 3 hitters, and now this is his 4th start, and 3, 4, and 5 has 3 hits.
Here's Avi. Avi, an infield single and the strikeout. Gap out there in left center. Takes down low. One hopper, and that'll retire the side. Nothing across, and we go to the 6th, trailing 2-1.
Time for the Subway 6th inning. Text Subway to 97999 right now for your chance to win 6 meals from the Simple 6 menu from Subway. Message and data rates may apply. Subway, eat fresh.
Top of the order here in the top of the 6th for the Royals as they lead it 2-1. Alcides Escobar takes a fastball strike. He's 1 for 2 with an RBI. Leadoff walk last inning to Alex Gordon. Came around to score, and that's the difference in this ball game.
Escobar went up and out of the strike zone for that one. That was well off the plate.
Two and two.
He's only fanned 4 times in 63 at bats, so more than not, he will put the bat on the ball.
Well, they struck out fewer times last year than any team in baseball. And this year, they're doing the same thing, only they got more home runs than we do.
That was a surprising opening series because they were hitting everything in sight out of the park, including 5 home runs.
He gone. Hook. Third strikeout for Quintana.
He goes to the curveball, drops it inside. He usually uses that to get ahead. This time he uses it as a wipeout pitch.
Moustakas has struck out, and he just missed hitting one out of here. High towering drive into deep right field. Alexei's got it. 2 down.
Not a bad total as he tries to get himself out of this 6th inning.
Kane takes ball 1. High right field. Stay in here.
It did.
But he overran it.
That will go as a no play.
And he smokes that one into left field, so he'll make the turn. Here's the throw by Melky, not in time. So the double. Coming with 2 out. That'll bring up Hosmer.
Kane got another chance to stay alive and made the most of it. This ball's down and out of the strike zone. And with his speed, it's a no doubt double.
Hosmer with a big rip and an 0-1 count. Two 6-1 for them, 1-5-0 for us.
Last 10, Eric Hosmer has been red hot.
Pulled something off that breaking ball, had him way out in front, and the count 1-2.
Good idea, heating him upstairs, only that one was well out of the zone.
Full count. With Kendrys, Morales on deck. Bottom of the ninth in Detroit. Cleveland thumping the Tigers 13-1.
Tim Timmons wanting a towel to make sure that the plate is visible.
And the rain's starting to come a little harder, and according to my radar, it should be coming down in buckets. Payoff pitch. He gone. So he strikes out Hosmer. We go to the bottom of the sixth. We got to get something going because that rain's going to be here.
is the go-ahead run. Came in the 5th inning. Off the bat of Paulo Orlando. He's 2 for 2 with a run driven in. And that is the margin at this point. It's a 2-1 game.
So for our guys, it'll be Alexei, LaRoche, Beckham, Flowers, and hopefully a couple of more. Alexei has gone out deep to left field. He just missed one with a couple of guys on in the 1st inning. And then he reached on an error by his counterpart, Escobar, and came around to score our only run in the 4th. So the bats have been, for the most part, silent. Post didn't get it. Two and one to count.
He's still looking for that hittable fastball. He's going to get one here. Perez wants it inside. And Alexei pointed at Tim Welke. Don't have to appeal that. It was already called a ball, Alexei.
Start us off right here, buddy. Don't help him now. There's a good way to start it.
You get careless with a fastball to Ramirez, and he's going to make you pay. You get the fastball he was looking for, that entire at bat. Got it up and on the inner portion, and he represents a tying run.
Adam has popped to short and fly deep to center. When he first hit it, looked like it may have had a chance, but that wind knocked it down. The wind's been blowing briskly from left to right. Takes first pitch strike.
Franklin Morales starting to loosen up. We saw him for an inning last night.
Ball gets away. Now Alexei.
Pretty good idea to hold right there. That flat-footed throw is very difficult to make and make effectively, and odds are overwhelming you're not going to get him. Right there, the step back and throw. No chance at all for a very good first baseman in Hosmer.
I hate to see our pitchers use that move, and I love to see opposition pitchers use that move.
It's a tough one. A tough move to make and a tough throw to make.
So 1-1 to count. Curveball, strike. Oh, he got a cookie there and missed it.
Harder.
He got this one up in the zone. Looking for a well-hit fly ball, but fouled it back.
A hanger. Two and two.
You see the right-hander Jason Frazier throwing in the pen next to Franklin Morales.
Just did get a piece of it. Beckham on deck. Good rip at that fastball.
The velocity has started to flatten out for Duffy. He was throwing 96, 97 when this one started. Now most of the fastballs are topping out at 93. Pretty good battle.
Just did get another piece of that one.
The 10th pitch of the at bat coming up.
High pop up. Escobar making the call, fighting that wind and rain, and a big out.
Bid on unique memorabilia from some of your favorite White Sox players, whether it's Jose Abreu, Carlton Fisk, Chris Sale, Paul Konerko, and more in a weekly online auction. Visit whitesox.com/auctions to start bidding.
So Danny Duffy will depart here with one out in the top of the sixth. He goes 5 1/3. Frazier comes on, and we'll be back.
that pen that have no ERA, and Jason Frazier is one of them, on for the 8th time. Opponent's hitting just .238. He will look in at Gordon Beckham.
Gordon has grounded to third and walked. Gap out there in left center. Mustakas even with the bag. Several steps off the line at third. Takes that pitch nicely. And the count 1-0. Second of this 4-game set. Tomorrow, weather permitting, the day game, that'll be Johnny Danks against Volquez. And the count 2-0. Then a finale on Sunday. Hector Noesi against Jason Vargas. Off on the road again. Right here, Gordon. Three and 0. Knock him in. That's ball 4.
Gordon draws his second walk of the night, the only 2 that the pitching staff has given up.
J.B. Shuck has come out to hit for Flowers. Tyler is 0 for 2, but picked up the RBI, knocking in Ramirez. And here comes another pitching change.
Franklin Morales will come in from the bullpen, and we'll step out and be back after these messages. One of those guys with no earned run average. No time like the present to tack a few on him. Ramirez belongs to Duffy. Beckham the responsibility of Frazier. And Roger Bossert talking things over with the crew chief, Tim Welke. Roger confirming that it is indeed raining. Good time to pick up at least one, and conveniently a pair as the rains come pelting down.
So now the Royals will come back out on the field. The infielders have gone into the dugout. Outfielders have remained. So now Soto is going to hit for J.B. Shuck. We have 2 on, 1 out, trailing by 1 here in the bottom of the 6th. 42 degrees and raining hard as we speak.
And you got to figure at the end of this inning, they're probably going to hold this game up.
Takes ball 1.
Morales worked a perfect 12th inning with 1 strikeout. That was enough to earn him the win last night.
Takes a strike, 1-1. Micah Johnson on deck. High in the center field. Tag up, Alexi. So Kane will get it back in. Alexi in the 3rd. Runners at the corners and 2 down. You never know what can happen with a wet baseball.
Well, you got to figure that one of the things they're talking about is the bunt possibility for Micah Johnson, who did it successfully leading off the 3rd inning. But it's going to be Bonifacio and not Johnson.
Well, the possibility of a bunt is still there.
There is some moisture.
If you're going to bunt in this situation, you got to make sure that it gets out far enough that Perez does not get it.
And preferably push it by Morales, because he also, like Duffy and like most left-handers, falls off the mound to the 3rd base side.
Here we go. Runners at the corners and 2 down.
He was thinking about it.
Big gap in left center. Count evens at 1. One time, we got to have somebody break through and get a big clutch hit for us. Throwing in the dirt. The 1-2 pitch. And ball hit hard right at him. I'm a son of a gun. Started sinking. He stayed with it, made the catch. And that is a definite hang woof 'em for Bonifacio. Meanwhile, we're into the 7th, still trailing 2-1.
Emilio Bonifacio stays in the game to play second. Giovanni Soto stays in the game behind the plate. Jose Quintana continues, as does play.
So it'll be Morales, Gordon, and Perez. Kendricks is grounded to short, and he's grounded to third. Outfield, they're straight up, spread out about equidistant. Souvenir right side. 2-6-2 for them, 1-6-0 for us. Drops the breaking ball on it, and a 0-2 count.
Zach Putnam loosening in the pen.
Softly hit. Coming on. Can't get there. Got it off the end of the bat.
Adams coming as hard as he can. Takes the dive, but manages to keep the ball in the vicinity, but can't come up with it.
Here's Gordon. He's grounded to second, walked to lead off the fifth, and that leadoff walk came around to score. That's the difference in the ball game.
Pretty good pitch, didn't get it. High and deep into right center field. Adam makes the call, has the ball. Salvador Perez has struck out and singled.
You do know one thing, you can get him to hit the ball on the ground. This is screaming out for a double play. Not much speed at first, and not a whole lot of speed at bat.
Down ball, take your time. You got plenty of it. Rack them up. And that'll retire the side. 7th inning stretch. We trail it 2-1.
Major League Baseball. Grounds crew taking care of that infield, especially with the puddling up around shortstop and second. Rogers got his crew putting the drying compound down there, and he's going to go through a lot of it here this evening. Fans, being the smart folks they are, have found a little shelter,
which is much needed.
Chi Sox Bar and Grill at U.S. Cellular Field is the official post-game headquarters of the White Sox. Appetizers are half price on our full menu, and that's from Gibson's Restaurant Group. After every home game and the two-story bar, which features 70 flat screens of HD TVs, you can certainly enjoy all the ambiance and some nice appetizers at Chi Sox Bar and Grill, located at Gate 5 Plaza.
So here we go, bottom of the 7th, 2-7-2 for the Royals, 1-6-0 for our Sox. And it'll be the top of the order. Eaton, Cabrera, and Abreu to face Morales. Adam is 1 for 3. Moustakas at the cut of the grass at third as there's first pitch strike.
I don't think Morales is going to be in there to face Abreu.
That ball hit into the gap, and nobody's going to get it. All the way to the State Farm sign, and here he goes. He's on his way to third. Here's a throw. He's safe. First triple. He had 10 last year. Meanwhile, the tying run at third, nobody out.
Royals might have had a chance, but they're airmailed the cutoff man. Our Xfinity Speed replay. Adam Eaton hits this ball pretty hard. Kane can't get to it. Gordon has to go all the way back to the wall, and then he gets the throw in, but he airmails the first cutoff man. That allows Adam to scamper into third base with the tying run 90 feet away. The Speed replay is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Now the infield comes in. First pitch to Cabrera. Taken for a strike. Melky is 0 for 2 with the sacrifice bunt. Low and away, 1-1. High into right field. Orlando makes the catch. Here he comes. He's coming home. The throw is off the mark, and this game is tied at 2. Yes!
Sacrifice fly by Melky is 5th driven in. And with a fairly wet baseball, even on a fly ball, you're not going to get a good grip, and that throw was way off the mark.
Adam saw it was up the line, and he will score. So Morales will depart, and we'll be back.
Years in business. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. So visit MLB.tv for details. And that'll bring in Chris Young, 6'10" right-hander. 1-0 this year, on for the 4th time. ERA a little above 2.5. Starting pitcher most of his career, now working out of the pen. And because he comes straight over the top, he's got some deception and gives up a lot of fly balls. He's always been a high fastball pitcher.
So he's got Jose Abreu coming up with nobody on, 1 out, but 1 in here in the bottom of the 7th, and this game is tied at 2. Abreu is 2 for 3 tonight, 2 singles.
Young has been around since the year 2000 when he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Right pitch up and in. Boston beat Baltimore 7-5 at Oriole Park. Big hack. Yankees beat the Mets 6-1, breaking that 11-game winning streak by the Metropolitans. Mark Teixeira with a couple of home runs in that ball game. Jammed him with that one, and the count 1-2.
We show you how dangerous Jose is with 2 strikes. Had a 2-strike base hit back in the 5th inning. And he's down 1-2 in the count. Had a very pleasant night for the men in blue.
Ground ball softly hit right side. Infante doesn't get him.
Well, for some reason, Infante decided he was going to take all the time in the world instead of just getting it and throwing it. And the big man hustling down the line, that could turn out to be one of the big plays. He really takes a lot of time here, maybe thinking that Jose is not going to run at all. But the call by Tim Welke. And now apparently they're going to take a look at it.
From that angle, looked like they got him. But we will see. If you're just tuning in, they scored a run in the 3rd. We tied it up with 1 in the 4th. Had a leadoff walk in the 5th. They did, and they came around to score. And then last inning, the leadoff triple by Adam Eaton. And a sacrifice fly by Melky Cabrera. Got him home, and that's how we stand. 2 runs, 7 hits for them. 2 runs, 7 hits for us.
Well, one way or the other, credit the big man for hustling down the line, putting some pressure on Infante. And he is out.
Yeah, that last angle looked like they got him. So 2 down. And Avi will come out. Garcia, he's 1 for 3.
And there is Roger talking it over with the crew chief, Tim Welke. Probably want to know how the radar looks. Well, I can tell you that. That doesn't look too good.
Let's see what it says now. Oh, man. We're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, it appears that that storm goes back a long way.
Two and 0 the count to Garcia. Flips that one back. Right side, Souvenir. And the count 2-1.
Just able to foul it off. Off-speed pitch in the zone.
Two delivery. Right here. But we pick up a run. We'll go to the 8th, tied at 2.
The Royals have the only 2 errors of the game. Quintana drew well, 7 innings, 7 hits, the 2 earned runs on 5 strikeouts and a walk. And Micah Johnson extended his hitting streak to 7 games.
Well, he got it and threw it tonight. First time all season.
That's brought to you by the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event, now at your Honda dealer. So Zach Putnam comes into the ball game, on for the 7th time. The ERA 6 3/4.
So a good job by Quintana. And here is Paulo Orlando. Makes the bunt, takes a strike.
is 2 for 2 with a run scored and a run knocked in. And there is a base hit by the speedster. And that'll bring up Omar Infante.
The only question for Ned Yost here is, do you bunt with him? He does not have a sacrifice bunt this year, but he's a good handler of the bat. And then you've got the top of the order coming up with Escobar, Moustakas, and it stays alive, Kane.
Infante can handle a bat. And with the speed of Orlando, you might want to do something more than just a bunt, but it wouldn't surprise me either way. Just a short lead by Orlando. There's a bunt popped up and dropped. Now go to second, get the lead man.
Get the real fast man. As Jose slides. And they take the speed burner off the base paths. Not entirely a bad situation, but it is a bad bunt. Up straight up in the air.
I thought they might hit and run with that speed of Orlando, but I'm glad they didn't.
Leaves a divot. And then makes the play to second.
Well, that was an inadvertent drop, but anyway, the runners have no protection on a bunt pop up. They do on a swing. So another break. We've caught some breaks in this game and have just not been able to capitalize on them.
Infante has had a groin problem, so odds are overwhelming. He's not going anywhere. This is some real heavy footing in the infield.
Outfielder deep, especially Eaton in center. Escobar 1 for 3 with that RBI. Little soft single in the third inning. Takes that pitch just low, so the count 1-0.
Dan Jennings loosening up.
High. Backward. Ooh, saw a little snow cone. Meanwhile, 2 out.
This ball trickles up the glove, but stays in.
Here's Moustakas. He's 0 for 3. Emilio way out there in short right center field. There's the strike.
Hard throwing Kelvin Herrera loosening in the pen. Another one of their relievers with no earned run average.
He did not go. 2-1. The rain has really eased up. That evens the count at 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out here in the top of the 8th inning in a 2-2 tie. Philadelphia shuts out Atlanta 1-0. Braves, no runs on just 2 hits. Turns and burns, and just a long, hard foul strike. St. Louis shuts out Milwaukee 3-0. Count hangs at 2-2. Cleveland beat Detroit 13-1. Salazar over Green.
Looks like Danny Salazar might have gotten a wake-up call when they sent him to the minor leagues.
I think that was the reason they did it. Brandon Moss 3 for 5 with 7 RBIs in that game. Couple of home runs, a double. He gone. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th, tied at 2. That's our tale of the tape here going to the bottom of the 8th inning. Second of this 4-game set. As you know, in 13 innings, we lost last night 3-2.
Be a good thing to come back against Chris Young before Herrera gets a chance to come into this.
Well, happy birthday. So for us, it'll be Alexei, LaRoche, and Beckham.
More drying compound.
So Alexei will start us off. He is 1 for 3 with a run scored. Reached on an error by Escobar leading off the 4th inning and came around. Scored on the RBI by Tyler Flowers. Start us off right here, 10. Takes ball 1. Looking for more than he got. And that evens accounted 1.
At 6'10", coming straight over the top. Chris Young has spent a lot of years in the league because of deception as opposed to stuff.
That one is 79. Tomorrow afternoon, a 1:10 start. Johnny Danks against Volquez in that game. If you can't make it to the ballpark, will be over Comcast Sportsnet. As that's out number 1.
2 changeups back to back.
So here's Adam. Adam, a couple of pop-ups to short and a deep drive to center.
There was absolutely nobody home on the left side of the infield, and you very rarely, if ever, see this.
Well, the only thing they're trying to do in a 2-2 tie, bottom of the 8th inning, is keep him in the ballpark.
Take the power away if he decides to go that way.
Whitey Herzog did that for many years. Whitey, one of the best managers, one of the best talent evaluators the game has ever seen. As that ball hit, going foul. One and 1 to count to Adam. The only difference would be that he would probably have, in this case, Moustakas out there in left center field. 4 outfielders. A big hack and a 1-2 count. Cubs beat the Cincinnati Reds 7-3 in 11 innings. High pop up. Everybody converging.
Just foul.
And it's just foul. Dadgummit.
Long way to run for Escobar. And he can't get to it. Gordon playing deep and into left center field, can't get to it.
So now they're going to leave Escobar on the left side of the infield. And that's up high for a 2-2. He did not go. Full count to LaRoche. Got it. 2 down.
On the Xfinity pitch tracks, this will show up as a pretty decent pitch.
So a 2 out is up to Beckham. He's 0 for 1 with 2 walks. Kansas City pitching tonight has walked 2 guys. Beckham both times. Takes ball 2.
David Robertson loosening up, thinking about a save if the Sox can push a run across.
So the 3rd walk. And here's Gio. Soto has been to the plate 1 time, hit a high fly into deep center field.
And now the outfield has to play a few steps deeper than normal. Trying to cut the ball off in the gaps, but a wet outfield and that ball is going to skid.
Perez wants to have a little talk with the tall, lanky right-hander. And he's got a 2-0 count. Bonifacio. Emilio on deck. Three and nothing. There's one.
Well, there is an inviting gap in left center field, and Young isn't throwing all that hard.
High. And it's going to stay in here. But Gordon, who makes the catch, and that'll retire the side. We'll go to the ninth, still tied at 2.
Is going to be put on the field.
Well, it's a good call. The field is almost unplayable out there in the infield, even with all the absorption compound that has been put down. So now they're going to make a determination on what to do. Maybe suspend it. And let's just check out what the radar is doing right here.
The only thing from Robin's standpoint, what Robin's probably discussing is, I get my closer all loosened up. He then takes the mound, and now he's going to have to sit. Depending on
that's the rub of the green right there.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how long it's going to be.
Yeah, that's.
You might lose your closer in this situation.
Yeah, as I said, that's the rub of the green. That's just the way it goes in a game of this nature. But the radar looks terrible. I mean, it's just, we're sitting right in the middle of a huge front. And it certainly does not look like it's going to get any better. All right. So we are in a weather delay here, and the Chicago White Sox rain delay is brought to you by U.S. Waterproofing. A better basement starts with us.
you can see Ned Yost is talking it over with his starters. Robin has departed the dugout. And the rain has been coming down for quite some time, and this field took a whole lot of water. You have to pretty much hand it to the umpires to keep it going as long as they did, giving the Sox an opportunity with that leadoff triple by Eaton in the 7th, then scoring on a sacrifice fly. We at least find ourselves in a game tied at 2.
Well, the umpires did a great job last night in that 13-inning game, especially Sam Holbrook, who saw almost 400 pitches, and then in handling the brawl that arose in the 7th inning. And I want to clarify something right now. I've heard some reports I did not see or hear myself, but that some people were trying to insinuate that Adam Eaton started that thing last night, and that is not the case. He did not say anything to Ventura.
I think if Adam said anything, and I talked with him before the game, if he said anything at all and that wasn't clear, he was not happy with himself because he just hit a one-hopper back to Ventura. It had nothing to do with Ventura and what he did or didn't do. Somehow, as he's running down the line, we saw Ventura, number one, start toward him and then make a comment to him. That seemed to kick things off, and of course, as we saw, it escalated from there.
So it was not Adam that instigated the incident.
Well, that's the 4th time in as many starts for the very young but very talented Yordano Ventura.
I've never seen
that he's had some controversy. I'm not saying that he had problems in 4 starts, but there was some instance of some heated nature in 4 of the starts. The last 3 in a row, he got ejected from 2 out of the